What are the particular challenges in Latin America for managing risk? For example, comparing with US or Canada, legislation, I don't know, whatever.
Well, I think legislation does play a part in it, because there are several countries that have either just adopted legislation in Latin America or are in the process. And we have been providing information on risk-based process safety so they can look at the overall program. But regulations only give you a baseline. It tells you what the minimum is that you have to do. But what that does is it covers everyone that is in industry and has the materials on site that they use, store, or produce. So there are many companies that we work with that are members of CCPS that go way above regulations. They go to best practices. They invent some of the best practices. And I think the challenge is that in Latin America globally, if there is one incident that gets media attention, it affects all of industry, because the public doesn't know a good company from one that isn't as good.
Okay. An incident is for all of us.
An incident is for all. And I think the things particularly that they're looking at down here, I think culture is one of the big ones. I think they look at human factors. But just in the last 8 years since I've been with CCPS, I've seen Latin America go through phases of looking at mechanical integrity, improving the hazard evaluations with layers of protection analysis after that. And I mean, I've really seen a difference. There are some places in the world, I think China is behind Latin America. India is trying maybe on the same level to grow. And there are places where there have been significant accidents that happened many years ago that may be further along in their journey or their maturity, like Europe and the United States.
And you say culture about Latin America. What were you thinking?
There's two different aspects of culture. And the culture of the country, Latin America, I find that it's very endearing to me, because the people in Latin America are passionate. They believe. They are very, they will react when something happens, and they are very caring. The culture that we look at when we talk about process safety or safety culture is really kind of what an individual does when they're by themselves. What are their values and their beliefs? Do they themselves believe that safety and process safety are important, and that is at the top of the list? Or do they look at operations as the bottom line and say, well, maybe we'll be lucky this time. Luck doesn't come into this. And a positive and a good process safety culture needs to be led from the top, but it needs to go all the way through the organization. You need to have leadership that believes that this is important. You need to talk to them and work with them on a periodic basis, whatever works for the company, whether it's quarterly or semi-annually or annually, so that they understand what impact process safety incidents do have and can have to the business, to the reputation of the company, to the public outside.
Is this a challenge to put process safety in top management?
It is.
Is for Latin America or for all over the world?
I think for all, but I think that in Latin America, with some of the issues that have been going on in the last few years, I think to get leadership to be able to focus on that and say, you have to walk the talk. You have to do what you're expecting someone else to do. And so I think that maybe they've got little bit more to catch up on, and obviously further to go. And in all the areas, we never stop growing. We always have continuous improvements that we can make.